Call the order, the city of Petoskey, the city council special session for July 10th, 2023. I ask that you rise with me for the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss Beck, would you please call roll?
Demore, present. Shields.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Walker is absent. Murphy.
Present, we have a quorum, 4 of the 5. Next is new business is the adoption of a proposed resolution creating a moratorium on licenses and or transfers of short-term rentals. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Shane Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. Based on feedback at our last city council meeting, the city attorney has put forward a resolution for consideration that establishes a moratorium on all new short-term rental licenses and all short-term rental license transfers for a period to be determined by this council. That section needs to be filled in. So that is up to you how long you want this moratorium to be in place. I did pass on a correspondence from the city attorney in response to a question that was posed. So you have that response. Essentially, this would again hit a pause on new and transfers of short-term rental licenses. The Planning Commission has done a substantial amount of work drafting 2 ordinances that you have based on feedback at the last meeting. Council again wants to do their due diligence, take as much time as they need to walk through those ordinances, make any adjustments that you all may need to make, and then just give us the time to go through that before we process any new or transfer licenses. It certainly is something that Sarah gets calls on several times a week. So this would kind of hit a pause on those licenses until we have had sufficient time to kind of walk through those 2 ordinances sufficiently. So that's what's in front of you this evening. Again, city attorney drafted the resolution. Fairly straightforward, again, sets a period of time to hit a pause on new and transfer short-term licenses, depending on the time period that city council would like to choose.
Do you have any recommendations to council on a possible period of this moratorium? Do you feel what would be within the timelines for us to take this and get this to the point where it's ready to come back, whether it's through Planning Commission, City Council, but if we get it done, we're ready to go. Do you think, is it 6 months? Is it?
I think that was
last?
Yeah, that the 6 months seemed to be that kind of sweet spot potentially. That doesn't mean we have to take that long. We can certainly, and I would encourage us to kind of have this on as a regular discussion. And if we even go through it section at a time, we can kind of wrap this up, and it shouldn't necessarily take that long, but that gives us that ability to kind of really do our deep dive, if you will.
Council?
Yeah, I agree with that recommendation. Again, that would give us the time that's legally defensible, yet with a thought toward completing it sooner than that. And it would obviate the necessity of having to make repeated motions to extend the time should it be necessary. So I support that period of time.
Mr. Wagner? I do as well. Mr. Shields?
I support that as well.
If we're set with that and we're fine with the moratorium, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved. And this is calculated in terms of number of days, not months. So I would leave that to Ms. Beck, the clerk, to fill in the proper number of days for us if possible. Thank you.
183 or
There's 31 in July, right? But it's not. It's not for baby. That one's gone.
Yeah, for 365.
so it just took 180 and that's close enough to a half a year to be accomplished.
Yeah.
Is that good?
I mean,
180.
Okay,
it's
that's
okay.
fine. Yep.
Hopefully we will not be back to revisit this part of it. I don't think we will be. Any other, do we have a second?
I'll support the motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Moore, second from Mr. Wagner. Any other discussion, council?
Just comment there, since you weren't at the last council meeting and there were only 4 of us. The information that was provided, I want to thank again the city, our planning commission for doing a lot of good work. I really appreciate it. I felt I wanted more time to digest it. And you weren't here. So I felt for those reasons that the moratorium was appropriate.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that as well. I know we have 2 members tonight, the Planning Commission, very appreciative of all the work and time that you put into this, the subcommittee in particular. And my perspective is in no means saying you haven't done it right. It's just a matter of kind of getting our heads into this as well, to see if we have any input. So, but thank you.
Any other? Does the public wish to express any comments, questions, etc.? If you do, step up to the mic, give us your full name, your full address, and you'll have time to address council. There being none, I will turn it over to Ms. Beck for roll.
Moore,
Aye.
Wagner.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes, motion passes 4-0. This is now an opportunity for anyone in the public to step forward with your full name, full address, and you have the opportunity to speak. When you come up to the mic, it's red right now, hit it to make it green. Ms. Marshall.
So different thing out here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You might want to take the mic and tip it down there.
So, I don't know how much time I'm allowed, but,
Name and
oh, sorry, Kate Marshall, 1015 East Mitchell Street, Petoskey. I happened to catch a bit of the last council meeting where the PUD rezone request was discussed at a first reading. And I was confused and noted with some concern Mr. Moore's issues with the charter and her questions about whether or not the charter was being followed. So I've done some additional research, and I appreciate you can't say anything about this, it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to give council an opportunity to perhaps think about some things that concern me. So we have a PUD ordinance, right? And we have your packet, which has certain items on it, and I'm going to try and compare them. The first thing I noticed is that under process on your packet, it said the rezoning application to rezone the property from heavy duty to plain was considered at a public hearing before the Planning Commission on March 16th. At this meeting, the Planning Commission also accepted the preliminary PUD. Actually, at that meeting, the PUD preliminary was accepted with stated conditions. I believe that was Mr. Sample's last meeting. When the new planner came in, the stated conditions have never been discussed by the Planning Commission. So there's a skip in the process. And you can go to the ordinance, and clearly that has to happen. You have to address those concerns. And then in your proposal assessment, there are 7 conditions that are talked about. You move from those conditions to the action, which is a rezone, and the rezone says nothing about whether or not those 7 conditions have to be met before the property is rezoned. And it concerns me on a couple of levels because you also, if you go, and this is page-wise following the concerns that Tina had, it says the planning commission shall recommend its approval, conditional approval, or rejection of the final plan to the Petoskey City Council. If the final plan is approved by the council, or whenever approved subject to the fulfillment of any conditions, the final PUD rezoning site plan confers the designation. So my question then is, where is it stated in the ordinance that the city council shall or may rezone a property to a PUD before the conditions of the ordinance are met? And I think it's important because this is a very big project. Everyone wants it to happen. We want the developer to be secure that we have followed the ordinance, and we want the residents of the city to trust that good government is alive and well, and we know how to properly follow an ordinance and do our due diligence. And I'm concerned that if you're approving something that is contrary to the ordinance, it's a violation. And I don't even know if you can vote on something that is a violation of the ordinance. There are questions about that, and I think Tina's mentioned it. So anyways, that's all I have for now. I will be at your, whatever the meeting is when you discuss it. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address council at this time? Nobody online either? We do not have city council comments not listed on this. So unless you have something you wish to add. This meeting, no further business coming for this council, this meeting is adjourned.